Greetings, First Presbyterian Church family. This is for Thursday, June 22nd. I am recording this on Wednesday, June 21st. I'm at Hodges Park, just down from this church. And I had some time ago, in fact, I think it was around Epiphany, that I recorded a message here. That'd be early January. And I noticed how a bridge was on the side. I'd wondered at the big flash flood that it had been damaged and they were having to replace it, or it just been moved to this, like floated over to the side. I wasn't sure. Several weeks ago, I was driving across here and I noticed that the bridge was back, that they had replaced the bridge. And so I said to myself, I want to walk it. So I had that opportunity today to do just that. Here walking under Cartwright and walking over there. The next block of time, Thursday Thoughts, I want to share kind of people you ought to know kind of stories. That's just my next about 5 weeks. I'll take a break while we're in North Carolina and then revisit. But people you ought to know. And two that I have picked, a couple, Jim Elliot and his wife, Elizabeth Elliot. Jim Elliot was born in the late 20s, grew up in Oregon, ranching or in Oregon. High school, very gifted guy. He worked on the school newspaper, school plays. He was in public speaking club, speech club, and wrestling. And in fact, later, when he was at Wheaton College, he was known as the India Rubber Man. Just the way he could maneuver within those wrestling moves and win. He was quite a good wrestler. So that was his big sport, which he invested himself. Grew up in a Christian family and kind of early in life had a sense of call to the mission field. He did a linguistics boot camp, which basically teach people how to listen to a language and to put it into letters, alphabet. There's a whole system, but one of his passions was to come across a people group that had no scriptures, had no alphabet, and be able to put their language into words. And now I'm getting a chance to cross that bridge. We're talking about crossing. And actually, that's how there are some cultures, they think that's how their language got preserved at certain points, because somebody translated it or wrote it down. And that goes back to the language might have been Latin, to which it got translated, but there was a whole sense of how languages were preserved, from like the Welsh, because yes, there was English being spoken, but they had the scriptures in Welsh. There was a way that they could read it. Anyway, that's a sidebar. That was his great passion. College, at Wheaton, he met Elizabeth Howard, who he did later marry. And they have an interesting story in courtship. There was a deep interest, romantic interest, but he had a deep sense of call that God wanted him to be a single missionary. Not until he was completely sure that it was the right thing. Now, they, of course, do eventually marry, and Elizabeth Elliot wrote in her book, Passion and Purity, talked about the courtship, and in that whole period, a couple of years, they both had the signal, because both had sense of call to the mission field, and a sense that as a single person, I can do more flexibility, and, until directed otherwise, I should do that. Now, people might kind of get in the weeds and debate about that practice, but I think it just shows that they wanted to do it right and a deep commitment. Well, they go to Ecuador, and actually originally, she's on one side of the Andes, he's on the other, working among the Quechua people. And there's a word which I always we used to hear was the Auca, and that was the Quechua word for savage, and it was for a tribe, the Huaorani, probably mispronouncing that. To me, it shows the old bit. It's often said that how in English speakers we tend to make up names for people and kind of put down names. And it's actually just the human condition, because even Native Americans were putting down other Native American tribes with language. I'm going to start working my way back. It looks like it's raining. So had a real passion to reach them, and had some contact. Eventually, they are working with the Quechua. They did marry. He had the sense of, I need to move ahead and court this lady and marry her, and they did in Quito, Ecuador, in a civil ceremony, and had a little girl. And he was working with some other men, a real passion to reach this people group, and through flying missions, dropping gifts, and some small contact, a couple of phones they had a contact, and it looked like, they realized we're friendly. Because see, the Auca had this habit of all outsiders, native tribe, European, didn't matter. All outsiders, they killed. Well, initial positive contact with like one or two, maybe two or three, small number. They were going to be prepared for a bigger contact. There was 10 in the party, and they were speared to death. Now realize by the time here, I'm going to have to make Elisabeth Elliot next week. But they were willing to be martyrs for the faith, if need be, to be able to reach this group. Now, the bodies were found. There was a big article in Life magazine. It was 1956 that he passed away, January 8th of 1956. And it seemed that the door was closed. However, there was a door that was opened. It just had to open later. So I'm going to have to, like I said, now realize I'm going to have to make two-part episode out of this. So next week, I will tell the rest of the story. And in that one, I will focus more on the work of his wife and later widow, and mother of his child, Elisabeth Elliot. I just want to, as I walk away now, just want to focus on a good truth that sometimes there's work that we do now that is not realized until later. And that sometimes actions take place, things happen that we see as a failure or a tragedy or a disaster, and could be used in a redemptive way. As a personal conviction, I believe that God in the end redeems everything. We just may not see it, and it might be just down the road, and it may not be in the way that we would see it. But that's my conviction. But again, the sense that God was at work even in that. And just see again the purpose. I mean, when a person has a deep purpose, focus, and I think that can be anywhere in life, that great things can be done for the Lord wherever that person is serving. Those are some thoughts I want to leave with you. And like I said, because I want to keep these on the brief side, I will share the rest of the story next week with the story of Elisabeth Elliot. So y'all have a good week, and I'm going to try to get to the car before it really starts raining. Bye.